Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Next Up. We're going to get back in the boat, go out deeper into the ocean on the topic of wisdom for wellness. You can tell I love to travel. I'm not too happy about being on the waters, but I use that as an analogy that we've got to get away from the shoreline of things and get out into the deep and gather as much information as we can on a given topic. Of course, we're still dealing with wisdom for wellness. I shared with you last time the wisest man that ever lived, labeled as Solomon, is the wisest man, said that there are three dominant things that build anything: knowledge, understanding, and I like to say the general contractor is wisdom. So we're talking today again about wisdom for wellness. If we're going to be well, we're going to be healthy, if we're going to promote our health versus fight disease, then we've got to be wise. Well, of course, you're not going to be wise unless you gain some knowledge or some information. And then you've got to understand what you're reading. You know, these are things that they taught us in school. Do you understand what I just put on the board, the teacher would say? All right. So we need knowledge and understanding or comprehension of what we just learned, and wisdom, which is the proper application of the knowledge and the understanding that we gained. Now, let's take that and apply it to our number one wealth, which is our health. If you're not healthy, nothing else matters to you. Why? Because you're fighting for energy. You're fighting to keep your thoughts right, to keep your mental health sound. You're not thinking about houses, cars, money in the bank, and all that stuff when you're not feeling well, when you're not healthy. And unfortunately, many people deal with 2 and 3 different ordeals. My heart goes out. Trust me, I pray. Girlfriend and I, my wife of 43 years, this November the 19th, we strive to keep everybody in our prayers that we have met, past, present, and even in the future. All right? But back to my point, we care. We care about your health. I care. God cares. He's the one who manufactured and created us. But he created everything with wisdom. All right? And of course, as I've mentioned, you got to have knowledge, understanding, and then the general contractor is wisdom. Let me ask you some questions or make some statements to you. Did you know that there is not a hospital in America that's hurting for business? At least I don't know of one. A hospital in our great country of America that's hurting for business. No, there's business all the time. Let's stop and think about this. Let's slow down and think about it. We're in a great nation, one of the greatest nations on the planet, if not the greatest, in certain lights. But in certain lights, we're hurting. We spend more. These are things that I'm asking you, did you know? First of all, that there's not a hospital in America that's hurting for business. Why? Because we Americans, we're taking the business to the hospitals. And I'm not saying this to cause you to look down on hospitals. In one light, I really, really appreciate them. I've had the opportunity to travel quite often. And I'm telling you, if I was to ever get sick, I wouldn't want to go into hospitals in some of the places that I've been overseas. The environment, the cleanliness, is not what I would want. All right. So we have built beautiful buildings. We have people who have gone to school for X amount of years to learn to be a doctor, a nurse. We got a lot of good stuff in our favor. But my question is, we've got all of this high technology. We got the doctors, we got the nurses, but the statistics are showing that cancer, heart disease, they're still rising. Something is wrong with that picture. What needs to be corrected? There are some things that need to be corrected. And again, did you know we spend more than the next 10 biggest spenders on the planet? Russia, China, Switzerland, so forth and so on, are big spenders when it comes down to health. We spend more than them combined. Did you know that? Now that triggers me to say, we've got to do something about this. How is it we've got the monies, we've got the institutions, we've got the doctors, we've got the nurses, we've got the this, and we got the that, and we're down on the totem pole, did you know, as far as healthy nations are concerned? Did you know that there are third world countries, as we label them, that are healthier than us? Something's wrong with that picture. Did you know we spend well over now, $4 trillion a year on what we call healthcare? But is it really healthcare or is it sick care? I think it's better stated as saying that it is sick care. We got to take this stuff to heart. We got to think about it and think about changes that we can personally make to help cut down on such a high health care bill for the country. And I believe it starts with us taking personal responsibility for our health, not just doing anything we want to do and then go to the doctor and say, fix it. Give me the magic pill to fix it. We spend well over $4 trillion a year on healthcare. Did you know that? Did you know that we spend more money on meds? Yeah, that was a statement that I just made, on meds actually, than the next 10 biggest spenders combined. So kind of disregard what I said earlier. It was actually on meds. But our healthcare bill is bigger than that also, than any other nation. With all that we've got going for us, and I am most appreciative to our conveniences. But with our modern technological and so forth conveniences, you would think we would be healthier, but we're not. We're doing stuff to ourselves. We're eating stuff that third world countries are like, what are you doing? You call that food? I had a colleague that came over from Africa, and he went to a restaurant as soon as he landed, and they brought some bread out, and he looked at that stuff and like, bread? That's not bread. That white stuff that you're putting, or you have put on my plate, you call that bread? And he refused to eat it. Also knew of another gentleman who got over here in our country, heard some data about what was happening health-wise, and made the statement, and this is a gentleman from an African country. He was like, we don't hear cancer. What is that? We rarely hear something like that in our country. Did you know that? Did you know that the pharmaceutical companies see the human body as a marketplace? And as Dr. Joel Wallach, who I've been with over the years, was with for a period of time with his company, made the statement that in the African American community in particular, when they see us coming, all they can hear is ching, 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 dollars. You're looked at in terms of dollars as a marketplace for the drug industry. Did you know that? That you're being looked at that way? Now, why am I asking questions like that? So we can stop, we can think, we can, as the Supreme said in that song, think things over before we develop something that we don't really want in our bodies. In other words, we got to get a better handle on our lives. I believe that God created us to be in control of our health, that we are designed to promote our health by our diet and lifestyles instead of fighting disease. We're spending too much time fighting disease versus promoting our health. This is serious stuff to think about. Did you know that more parents are burying their children? We are the first generation, it has been said, that more parents are burying their children. Here's another did you know? Did you know, and this is something that I read some years ago up in the Southern California area, that the children or young adults who had died in gang fights, many of them already had heart disease between the ages of 18 and 22. How can this be? Why is this happening? Between the ages of 18 to 22 of the autopsies that were done, they found out that many of them already had heart disease. Where is that coming from? Is heart disease something that came from outer space and decided to go and attack a certain population? No. Over a period of time, what we have been putting in this gateway in particular, and other extenuating factors from stuff that's in the environment, stressors, lifestyle, of course, but predominantly because of what we've been eating. We've literally been eating ourselves into sickness, eating ourselves into disease, eating ourselves into being de-energized. You heard it right. What you eat is either going to build your energy or deplete your energy. A lot of people are complaining about energy nowadays and have been doing it for some time. Well, we have to consider, what am I putting in? What am I drinking? And what am I eating? What's on the other end of that fork or that spoon? We've got to consider that. Stop, pump the brakes, come to a stop, or at least yield enough time to think about how nutritious is that item. Does it match the chemical makeup of the body? Now, there goes a piece of wisdom for wellness. So let me just go ahead and go there and talk about pieces of wisdom for wellness. So, since I mentioned that one, let's go back to it. How nutritious is what you're eating? What's on the end of that spoon or that fork? What's on the plate? Stop and take the time, if you're going to promote your health over fighting disease, to really think about what's on my plate. Well, I see bread, I see beans, I see spaghetti, I see this or I see that. Think about it. How nutritious is that item? I've got something I got turned on to that I have now an app on my phone called the Yuka, Y-U-K-A, Yuka app. That app is really good for helping us determine how nutritious a food item is. So you, of course, turn your phone on, go to the app, Y-U-K-A, and then you click on the app and it'll come up to where you can scan the code on a particular item, because things that come in boxes, cans, packages, of course, they have those numbers that number there on the back or somewhere on that item. Well, when I use the Yuka app, it tells me whether this particular item is poor, okay, or excellent. It's a nice thing to shop with if you are concerned or questioning the nutritional value of an item. I encourage you to download that app, Y-U-K-A, Yuka app. Go right to your store and download it. So that way you are conscious about what's in your basket, what you're bringing home to consume. All right? So going back to this first point about wisdom for wellness, take the time to examine the nutritional quality of what's coming into your system, because you're only going to be as healthy as the item that you're ingesting. All right? Here's another piece of wisdom for wellness. Pain is a protest of your body. That is, it is being subjected to abuse. Let me say that again. Pain is a protest. It's really your body like turning on an alarm system that something is not right. You're not giving me the proper amount of rest, or you're not, in many cases, you're not giving me the quality of food that I need to run off of. A vehicle. There's some vehicles, if you put 87 octane fuel in it, it's not going to run properly. You got to put what it was designed to have. Pain is like unto an alarm system, letting you know you need to stop, check things out, make some adjustments so that the pain will go away. Now, unless, of course, you were in an accident, or in some kind of consultation, somebody, got stabbed or shot. I'm not talking about those situations. We can understand pain from ordeals like that. But I'm talking about pain that comes from you've been consuming all of these sodas with all of the sugar and the high fructose corn sugar and all of these sugar additives that are in them, that eventually pain is developed in the body. Notice it didn't come at you and strike you like a rattlesnake. It's something that was developed over a period of time because of what you were given to the body or what you were not doing for the body. All right? Here's another piece of wisdom for wellness. Now this is really big. Tastes are developed, not inherited, because many of us are still controlled by the taste buds. We don't eat, and of course, everybody wants something that tastes good. I do too. But many people are still under this spell of eating because it tastes good. Of course, other than the fact I'm hungry, I need something in my system. But when you put it in your system, are you guided by nutritional value of the item, or are you guided by your taste buds? It tastes good. A lot of stuff that is good for you doesn't taste like candy or cake or sugar, but it's dynamic for the body. In the nutritional world, we oftentimes say, particularly when you're trying to get over something, the bitter is the better. It's another piece of wisdom for wellness. If it doesn't taste good, oftentimes it is good for you. And you can spice things up by putting different stuff on your food item on your vegetables or your sardines or salmon or mackerel, or if you're eating beef or chicken. You can spice it up with different spices, of course. All right. But my point here is refuse to be guided by your taste buds. Make sure that you're putting good, nutritious food items in your system. Here's another one, wisdom for wellness, and I've touched on it somewhat. Disease develops. It doesn't strike like a snake, a rattlesnake. All right. It's something that is developed over a period of time. So it looks like this. What am I doing on a regular basis to myself? What do I drink? What do I eat? What kind of exercises do I do? You know, unless you're one of those that's out there working on the roads, you know, and you're just into a lot of laborious activities through your work. Now, that is exercise itself, you know, depending on the nature of it. But the average individual is not doing that and not exercising. So disease will develop when you're not mobile, when you're not considerate of what you are drinking or eating and or putting on your body. These are avenues through which disease can be developed. Notice, developed. So if that's the case, and this is why I love studying, why did John Doe die? How did Sally James get that ordeal, that disease? I want to know, because I don't want to do to myself what maybe that individual did to themselves that caused it. See, nothing just happens. There's something that causes things to happen. And we need to be on top of it when it comes down to our health. We need to, and I'm speaking to the choir, to myself first. I keep a chart, a log, at least a mental log, and even in certain cases, a physical log. But I've been exercising this stuff so long to where in my mind, I know I'm not going to do this and I'm going to do that in order to stay healthy. Keep my skin cleared up. Keep pain out of my body. Keep my brain from being fogged. Stop sickness and disease from developing at such a young age, because I'm a little bit over 16 now. All right. Okay. But going back to this wisdom for wellness, disease is something that is developed over a period of time. I was talking to someone a few days ago, and they had this, I forgot what the ordeal was. I said, were you born with it? The guy said, no. Did you have it at age 5? No. At age 15, I literally went up the ladder like that. No. Age 26 or 36, sure didn't. The point that I was trying to prove was it was over a period of time that the ordeal was developed. All right. So this is why I'm an advocate for being conscious of what I put in here, conscious of what I think, conscious of relationships that I develop, conscious of making sure I'm getting nature, in contact with nature, getting some sunlight, fresh air, feet touching the ground, eating items that come out of the ground instead of out of a factory for that item being developed. We got to have consciousness about this, right? A few more pointers on wisdom for wellness for today. Good health is a matter of good stewardship. Now, we take care of our vehicles, we take care of our homes, rightfully so, but we've also got to take care of our bodies. We got to make sure that our bodies stay cleaned from the inside out. Now, of course, you're working out, you're sweating, then you're going to come home and take a bath or a shower. We got to think in terms of staying clean internally as well as externally. We've got to think in terms of making sure, like we do with our vehicles, we check those meters on that dashboard to make sure you really check it to make sure you got some gas in the car because, or the truck or whatever it is, because you know you're not going anywhere without fuel. Why is it that we don't think like that? Well, I know why. I'm just posing it like this. We got to think like this when it comes down to the body. We got to think about the quality of fuel or food that we're putting in our bodies. There are certain foods that will just energize you, and then there's certain foods, oh my God, they taste good, but they will de-energize you. After the niceness of the taste is gone, and that item is processed in your body, what is your body telling you? Is it telling you after you've eaten, right after you've eaten, oh man, I'm really sleepy now. Oh, I'm ready to go get a nap. Or were you energized? Were you like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go back at it after my lunch break or whatever break? It's all determined by, for the most part, what you're putting in, what you're drinking, what you're eating. So disease develops. It doesn't strike like a rattlesnake. Well, I've covered that when I think I was on good health is a matter of good stewardship. That's where I was. Let's get back with it, Calvin Ellison. So you've got to be a good steward. We were put here to be stewards, managers of the planet. And it starts with being a good manager of self. What do I eat? What do I drink? What do I think? What are my relationships like? How are they? All of this stuff matters when it comes down to stewardship. Here's another good piece of wisdom for wellness. I love this statement made by Kevin Trudeau years ago. He was a big proponent of healthy living. Here's a statement that he made that I've never gotten away from. And you can just look around at what you've got in your house and you'll see that what I'm going to share with you that of the statement that he made is so. He said, they put chemicals in foods that make us hungrier, fatter, or addictive. I'm going to say that again. There are chemicals. Just go do the research for yourself and look at the number of products with chemicals in them. Now, those chemicals are not in those products by coincidence. As I mentioned on the last podcast, if you're eating an item and it's got a long list of the ingredients, you might want to think twice about bringing that item into the house of your body, because it should be simple and plain. I'm very leery of products. Dear God, it's going to take me X amount of time to get through the list. And in my world, I'm going to investigate it. I'm not going to let it in my home. This is a piece of wisdom for wellness. Investigate the ingredients that's in your food items or your liquid items. Investigate the ingredients. Does the chemicals in that ingredient match up with the chemicals that our Creator, Father, loving Father God, prescribed for us to eat? Or is it some chemical you really need a thesaurus, dictionary, or whatever to look up? Man, you got to know what you're bringing in, because your body is like a chemical factory. And I like to say, if the chemical makeup, here's another piece of wisdom for wellness, if the chemical makeup of what you put on or you put in doesn't match the chemical makeup of your body, you got to consider that there are going to be effects to the chemical that you put in. You are a chemical factory. What you eat are chemicals. So does the chemical match common sense or match the chemical makeup of what the body was designed to intake? This is very, very serious. Kevin Trudeau saw that years ago. I read his book, and he made that statement. They put chemicals in foods to make us hungrier because you are a market to many of these corporations, a market to sell the product. They're concerned about your health and mind. They're concerned about, as a business-minded individual or corporation would be, they're concerned about their product being sold. This is how business people think. And you are a potential market for the product. So they've been designing products that make you addictive, hungrier, and fatter. The products that God gave doesn't do that to us. But when you read chemicals like blue number 4, yellow number 5, atrazine, bisphenol A, azoticarbonamide, and all these other there are many others. You gotta be discernful. You gotta be wise. You gotta consider, what is this chemical that does not match the chemical makeup of my body? What will it do in my body? Again, cancer is not something like, oh, it's so strange. Now, of course, we don't have the answer to every ordeal. We don't know the why on every ordeal, but let's not be fooled. On a lot of these ordeals as to why cancer is developing at alarming rates, and heart disease, I think cancer has just recently taken the lead over heart disease as far as deaths are concerned. There is a root cause or root causes. And one of them, I firmly believe, if I'm putting a chemical in my body that does not match the chemical makeup of my body, common sense says there's going to be a clash. All right, let me say it like this. Another piece of wisdom for wellness. Your food was designed to be your medicine by the Creator. And your medicine was designed to be your food. Further stated, there were no man-made pharmacies in the Garden of Eden. Am I telling you not to take meds? No, that's not what I'm doing. Not here to take the place of your doctor. But one thing I'm trying to do, get across, use some common sense. Don't eat yourself into a problem. All right? Consider what you're putting in. Now, going back to the medical ordeal, if it wasn't for certain medications, many people have been dead a long time ago. But I want to know this. Is there a natural approach to the med? Because now, I thank God, I'm on no meds, no aches, no pains, and I have the capacity, I thank God, to do 125 push-ups in less than 2 minutes at my 60-some age. I didn't see it like that. I didn't do this when I was back in high school playing football. All right? But I've learned some things over the years that if you treat the body right and give it what the wisdom, loving wisdom of our Father gave us as far as what to put in, it can be healthy. If you put the right oil, gas, put the water in your vehicle, they tell you that the vehicle can last for years, 10, 15, 20 years and all that stuff. But you got to put the right stuff in it. So here I am at my age in my mid-60s. Glory to God. No aches, no pains, no meds. I'm not saying that for you to come off of your meds. No, you don't do not do that. If you're going to come off, work with your physician. Work with your physician and make sure your physician works with you. So let's talk about what things I can do health-wise. What are some things I can do for myself? All right? Because I don't really want to be on 15 medicines. I don't want that to happen. And plus, you need to explain to me clearly what are the side effects to this particular med. See, that's you being in charge and the doctor working with you. All right? But don't go get off your med because of what you're hearing me say right here. You better work with the process if that's your intent to get off the med. If you can, if you haven't let things get so much out of place, you know. Oh, man. All right. Few more pieces of wisdom for wellness. I like this one. We're getting people saved in our sanctuaries and killing them in the fellowship halls. I don't know where I got that statement from. I've been having it for over 20 years. We're getting people saved in the sanctuaries and killing them in the fellowship halls. Well, come on, Ellison, what is that saying? We don't have a strong enough focus on health and wellness in many churches. Not every church, but in many churches. We're concerned about the saving of their souls, but not that concerned about the degeneration of their bodies. So we emphasize, get saved, let's go to heaven. But there's not any emphasis on the physical body because we get them saved and then we take them back into the fellowship halls and feed them the fried pork chops, feed them the fried chicken, feed them all this trans fat, greasy stuff on top of devitalized cakes to where it looks good, it tastes good, and people have a good time eating them while in the fellowship hall and get home. Oh man, and all of a sudden the hallucinations from all that, those trans fats and the de-energizing from all those refined sugars begin to settle in. So we get them saved in the sanctuary and we kill them in the fellowship halls. What is that saying? We got to make some changes. We got to make some modifications. We got to be as concerned about their physical health as their spiritual health. Remember, the scripture says, I wish above, this is God speaking through the Apostle John, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health. Prosper and be in good health, because prosperity without good health means nothing to that individual. They're thinking about being healthy. So we need to develop physical wealth, physical health, wealth, as we need to develop spiritual wealth. Spiritual wealth. We need to develop physical wealth, as well as we need to develop mental wealth, as well as we need to develop relationship wealth, and so forth and so on. All right? I love what Virginia Woolf said. We're talking about wisdom for wellness today. She said, one cannot think well, love well, if one has not dined well. Again, one cannot think, love, or sleep well if you haven't dined or simply said, eaten well. Man, this is very powerful. Really, now, think about this with me for a moment. How I think is affected by what I eat. That's what she's saying. How I love, my love life can be affected by what I eat. I may not feel like loving if I've eaten stuff that has de-energized me, given me brain fog, physiological problems. And then she said, you can't sleep well if you haven't dined well or eaten well. So what you eat affects your love life, affects your thought life, affects the quality of sleep that we get. Wow. Wow, we. So it makes me want to stop, think things over about what I'm putting in my mouth. All right, I'm going to give you, I got to give you these few. Okay. Your body is like a vehicle. It needs water, gas, and oil. This is a powerful piece of wisdom. Your body is like a vehicle. In actuality, the vehicle is like the body. But to get the point across, I'm going to say it this way. Your body is like a vehicle. Every vehicle, until we totally go electric, needs water, gas, and oil. Water for the body is the same as water for the vehicle. Let's talk about the oil. Oil is necessary in the body as it is in the vehicle. Now, you know the quality of oil, the type of oil that your vehicle has been recommended to have. Well, oil for the body is going to be things like what we call the essential fatty acids, whether it's coming from krill oil, hemp oil, fish oil, flaxseed oil, and the oils are necessary for good brain health, intestinal tract health, nervous system health, a lot of bodily functions. You've got to have the oils. You were designed by our Creator to have these oils. They come in nuts, walnuts, they're in cashew nuts, they're in the seeds, chia seed, they're in the pumpkin seeds, as well as other items that are nutritious items that are in these things too. But I think you get my point. The body's got to have the oils. It was designed that way, just like the vehicle. And lastly, the body has got to have fuel. Well, we know the fuel for the vehicle is the gasoline, the quality of the gasoline. Well, what is the fuel for the body? Your food. This is why I've talked quite a bit today about the quality of the food that you put in, because the food is your fuel. Major part of your fuel, of course, you're fueled by thoughts and imagination as well, but I'm talking about on that physiological level. The fuel for the body is the quality of the food that you put in. So question is, are you getting the fruits and the vegetables and the beans and the nuts, as well as the foods that our Father, loving Father God, said were good to eat? He did not say, and I know this is going to be offensive to your ego, brothers in particular, and your whatever ladies as well. But he did not tell us to eat the pig. I don't care what preacher, prophet, or whoever tells you, it's not in the book to eat the pig, the shrimp, the lobster, the crab. These guys are scavengers. And if you're really concerned about your health, you want to hear the truth. That's just the truth. Don't argue with me about it. I didn't say it. I didn't create you. I didn't create me. He did. And we've got to seek to line up. I know where you're at. I used to be there. I used to be on pig farm. I used to bring groceries home earlier in our marriage, feeling good as a man. I'm bringing home pigtail, hog chitlins. I'm bringing home the hog's head with white flour bread, with sodas, 64-ounce sodas, because I could get them cheap, $3 for $1.29, or whatever that cost was. You know what I'm talking about. feeling good that I was providing. Yeah, I was providing all right, providing stuff that would make the family sick. And I had to get off of that stuff and continue or come into alignment with what our loving creator said to eat. All right. I'm still on that journey, of course. Whole lot better off than what I was when I first got started. But I had to get a good brainwashing when it comes down to what real food is all about. So here I am now, 60, in my mid 60s. No aches, no pains, no meds. And all the time when I go to the doctor, I'll teach the doctor some things. Well, we can learn from each other, of course, But I do have an issue that if you are a smoker as a doctor and you telling me how to be healthy, I do have an issue if you're 30 pounds overweight as a physician and you're telling me how to take care of my health. You're telling me how to maintain my weight. I have issues with that. I realize nobody's perfect, but if you're going to lead me in the area of health, I want to check you out to see if you're healthy. It's just common sense. All right? I'm going to give you one more. Just one more. Let's see what's that last one. Yeah, here it is. Wisdom for wellness. You don't make health decisions in a physician's office or a hospital. You really make them in the grocery stores and restaurants. That's a big one. I'm going to say that one again. Your health decisions are not made in your doctor's office or the hospital. No, that's an after effect. Health decisions are made at the dinner table, or actually in the supermarkets, then the dinner, breakfast, lunch, or dinner table, or in the restaurants you go to. That's where we make health decisions at. My time is up. I appreciate you spending time with me. I appreciate you sharing, you subscribing, liking, and sharing to the Next Up channel to help get this kind of information out, because if we love our brothers and our sisters, our fellow man, then we'll do everything we can to inspire, to encourage, to educate. So don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me get it in my order that I like to give it. Subscribe, like, and share the Next Up podcast. I want to turn you on to one of my books on health. Let me make sure the light is not consuming it. Insights for Healthy Living and Weight Control. Let me get it here. Insights for, this light is so bright. There we go. Insights for Healthy Living and Weight Control. You can order your copy by going to ellisonsconsulting.com, my website there, Ellison's Consulting, and add fuel to the fire of your knowledge and your passion to promote your health and not have to fight disease. A lot of good information. Some tidbits of it I've covered in the podcast today. But you can order your copy, again, by going to ellisonsconsulting.com. Thank you for spending time with me, for subscribing, liking, and sharing the Next Up podcast. I look forward to seeing you next time on Next Up. Have a great rest of your evening or your day or your night. God bless.